So, welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're gonna talk about the unconscious. What is it? Why do you need to go to therapy? What are psychosomatic diseases? Why are you sick at all? Why do you have any mental health issues? And all of that. And we're gonna dive deeper into psychoanalysis. So, welcome to my channel. My name is Jessica. I'm a psychoanalyst and wellness coach. And in this channel, I talk everything from spirituality to neuroscience. Please subscribe so more people can watch these videos, and please leave your comments with questions or then suggestions for more videos. So to start, Carl Jung, one of the founders of psychoanalysis, said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And that is one of the biggest quotes out there by literally every therapist and psychologist loves this quote because it's the basis of literally all psychology. And what I'm gonna talk about today is literally the basis for everything psychology, for everything you need to know about yourself, and it's gonna help you. If you don't know this, it's gonna change your life. If you already know this, integrating this concept a little bit more is really gonna help you just like 10x, next level, so quickly. All right, so I will use me as a guinea pig here. So in my life, I am doing things, I am in relationship with people, and I think that this is just who I am. And I'm like, I am, lightning, true. I am what I am, and I have this defense mechanisms that I'm completely not aware. Relationships aren't working out. My job, my career, my finance, I am blocked. And I am seeing everything. Doctors, therapists, I'm doing everything I can do. I'm taking antidepressants, SSRIs, and nothing is working for me. So what worked for me personally is to go and do a big mushroom journey. And it worked for me for the reasons I'm gonna explain why it worked for me. But not necessarily you need to do a big mushroom journey. But why did I only find healing once I did a big mushroom journey? Because, as Carl Jung said, the matters in my unconscious became conscious, and I started tackling them. Right? So from 0 to 6, what happens in your formative years? It goes directly into your unconscious. It makes the core memories and the core basis of why you are the way you are, why do you do the things you do. And it has things that are like literally like in our body that they stay with us and they shape our lives, right? But these things, this matter, these feelings, this, like, I don't know anyone who's like really like, of course now we are, but who's really like meditating, who's processing their feelings, who's like, I feel anger. It's okay to feel anger. I feel sadness. I think people are trying to do that with their children now, but we're not processing our feelings and emotions and things. We just go by like, okay, somebody said X, so X. Like, okay, if you're born poor, you die poor. Whatever beliefs that were passed on to you, you kind of held them, and then you break up and you move on. You lose a job and you move on. Life happens at you and we move on. What happens? Where does all these memories go? Well, they go to your unconscious. So in my story, when I was going through all of that and all these matters that came up, it was very scary. I was like, well, that is not true, but it was true. It's just that I wasn't conscious that they were true. So let's say, for example, here's another example. I'm gonna use my special guest here, the plant. So the plant is a person. And as your average person, you're going through life and then you have like a backache or whatever. And then what do, right? You like, what do? Maybe you get a haircut and you're like, that will make me feel better. Oh, that didn't make me feel better. So you get another haircut, or you go and you buy some new clothes and you look a little pretty, or you get some makeup, or you get a boob job. Some new boobs for the plant, or you color your skin. I don't know. When shit happens to us, we're trying to fix the thing at the surface. And most of us, we think that money will be the thing that will give us happiness because money will fix everything. Like if then I do that and I do that, and we keep trying to achieve things to fix things. But if you have a plan and you can even try to cut it out completely by doing some surgery. But if you have a plant, you know that this is a healthy plant, but let's say there was a bug infection or something like that. There's really nothing I can do to this plant on the surface that will make this plant feel better if it has root rot. Root rot is what most of us have. So most of us, we are not taking good care of ourselves. We are not processing our feelings and emotions. And just like a plant, you can overwater it, underwater it, and so forth. And when you, let's say, overwater, for example, the roots get rotten. So there's just nothing you can do. But when the roots are rotten, it will start to show in the plant. So it starts to get like weird colors and stuff. So the symptoms, what we call disease, are symptoms of matters in our unconscious. So our body starts to coming up with symptoms. In my case, all the symptoms: depression, anxiety, ADHD, irritability, anger. Those are symptoms of what? The fuck are those symptoms of? They're symptoms of something deeper. So medicine treats and therapy heals. So for us to really heal, we really need to look under it. We need to look where we don't want to look. And it's gonna be very messy, such as what we're doing now. We need to look at the roots. This case, thank God, there's no root rot. But we need to go under. It's gonna be messy, it's gonna be crazy, and we need to see what is causing. That's why it's called the root cause. So what is the thing that is causing the symptom? So you can go to a doctor or whatever, but that's just the symptom. What is the cause? The cause is in the roots. Well, Jessica, that's a plant. I'm a person. Exactly. So now it's where the unconscious comes in. What is the unconscious? We used to have shamans, and we used to have a lot of spiritual healing and this sort of thing for healing. But then, as society evolved, we had psychiatrists and people with some sort of what they call a mental disorder. They were like, okay, hysteria, and they go to a psych ward and they're there, and they were doing all sorts of nasty stuff like shock treatment and, lobotomies and stuff. The psychiatrists were doing that, and they were in this hospital, okay, you're crazy, right? So this psychiatrist, which is the father of psychology, Sigmund Freud, in 1865, I think, in the late 1900s, he started going to the psych ward and he started talking to people. And in talking to people that were crazy, most of them were healed. So that was how modern talk therapy started. Of course, then Freud got a little off the wagon there, but he created all these bases. So what he also created is a thing known as the Iceberg model. So in his book, Interpretation of Dreams, he wrote the model. So maybe you've seen this somewhere. Sorry, this is an iceberg, okay? This is the water, this is the tip of the iceberg, this is the iceberg. So this is the basis for everything. So what I know about me. I am Jessica, I'm from Brazil, I like to eat red meat and I like to listen certain music. That's what I know about me consciously. But I do not know a lot about me. I don't know why I am the way I am. I don't know this stuff because the brain represses that stuff in order to deal with survival, in order to deal with matters at hand. So then it represses this stuff so you can live your life. But then at some point, it represses it too much. So I'm gonna explain that later. So this is your mind. So you only know 10% about yourself. To make it clear, you only know 10% of information about yourself. 90% of information about yourself, yes, I am great at math. 90% you don't know that. That is in your unconscious. There's also a thing called the subconscious. But we're not going to talk about the subconscious today. We're just gonna focus on the conscious and the unconscious. So when you ask about me, oh, why do you think or whatever, I am giving you a conscious answer. I don't know, but the unconscious, just like the iceberg, is what's driving your every behavior, is what's driving who you like, who you're attracted to, who you're not attracted to, and it's creating every single disease in your body, mental, not mental. And if you don't deal with your unconscious, you're gonna have big problems. So What happens when people don't deal with their unconscious? All right, so to exemplify this, you have a garage, right? And you're just like living your life, you're buying things, you don't like something, you put it on the garage. No, garage. Oh, this clothes, garage. Like, you're not dealing with stuff. You're not like, okay, I'm gonna donate this, I'm gonna fix this, I'm gonna organize it, even a garage, you can like organize it, you can clean it. But like an attic or a garage, you're just stuffing stuff in there. Like your memories, what happened, you're stuffing stuff. At some point, two things can happen. One, that garage can get full. And when that garage gets full, you're like, holy shit, it's full, I gotta go do it. Or then you go moving. If you go move, you hadn't have to deal with your attic, with your garage, you know, or even not even a garage, like a closet. You start opening drawers, it's like it's full, there's a lot of shit in there, so you got to deal with it. So the garage is like the unconscious. When you go to move and you have to deal with your garage, what happens when you go in your garage? There are cockroaches, there are rats, it's dirty, it's so fucking messy that it's like, oh, is this garage or this attic even part of my house? I'm just gonna pay someone to deal with that. But you can't do that. You gotta deal with it, but you're not gonna wanna deal with it. Why? Because it's nasty. It will be so much work to reorganize that garage. So what you're gonna do? Not do it, right? You're gonna avoid looking at your garage for as long as you can, because it's the most painful, nasty thing you can probably do. That is our unconscious. We go through life, shit happens when we're young, parents divorced, parents cheated on each other, abandonment, needs were not met, anger, alcoholic father, oh shit. That stuff, instead of us dealing with it, it gets thrown in our unconscious. And it just stayed there, and we go shitting, break up, I'm not gonna suffer, I am not gonna cry, I am not gonna go to therapy, I am just going to get money so I can find a hot girl, or I'm gonna go get a new set of tits so I can find a better guy. Like, we are not allowing space to process things. We are like dissociating massively as a society. TV, video game, food, phone usage, obviously surgeries, appearance things, and men, money, and work. I'm not gonna work because work, obviously not even counting alcohol and drugs, which are horrible. But we are dissociating because we don't want to deal with stuff. But when you don't deal with stuff, you're not, like, it just doesn't go away, you know? Law of thermodynamics. Energy cannot be destroyed, only transformed. So nothing, when you have a thought, a feeling, that is not gone. It's energy. It's going somewhere. And where it's going? To your unconscious, to your garage in your mind. Okay? So understand that. So what is the problem with that? If we have unconscious, it's for a reason. Well, we have this place to put stuff in there because our brain cannot simply be aware of everything at the whole time. For example, if you really stop to really listen, you're gonna listen to so many noises in your house. So you're gonna just notice that, like, there's a plant there, there's what it says on that picture. You're not aware of what it says on that picture, or in my shirt, or whatever, or that is lighting outside, or about that picture up there. You're not aware of that consciously, but you are aware of that. Your eyes and your ears, they're capturing everything around you. But like a computer open with so many tabs, it will crash. So we cannot survive if we are conscious of all the things. So the brain, it starts like, okay, I'm gonna file this away, I'm gonna file this away. But at some point, it's gonna get full, and at some point, it's gonna be a problem if you never dealt with it, which is honestly most of us. That's why most of us have to do some sort of cleaning in our mind, right? So for most of us, it gets to a point in our life, like me, where we're like a midlife crisis, or we are super sick, or we like lose a job, or somebody dumps us, that we gotta look at ourselves. And when we start looking at ourselves, if we're just talking consciously, it's like, okay, what? So why is talk therapy a thing? Because by talking, a skilled therapist is gonna be able to get frames and themes in your talking, and then is gonna be able to like massage the unconscious, and little by little catch this pattern. So as Jung said, make the unconscious conscious. I'm talking, I hate people are stupid, they're stupid, oh my God, people are stupid. That's the principle of projection. Projection is, I see in you what's in me. That's why relationships are the most important thing for growth. So if I'm thinking, you're so stupid, and then I'm anger, I am thinking that you're stupid and I am feeling anger. That is a me thing. But when I'm not conscious of my unconscious, I am just like, okay, that's a you problem. But when I start going therapy, the therapist will say something like, okay, do you see that you're like that with a lot of people? Why? Because if I'm finding a lot of people dumb and frustrating and stupid, it's because I think I am dumb and frustrating and stupid in my unconscious. I don't consciously think that, but unconsciously I think that. So the unconscious asks ourselves to look at it by projecting into others. And that's a tip that we need to look into our unconscious. So, okay, wow, my relationships are not working. I'm not getting the promotion. I am anxious. I am depressed. I have OCD. I'm ADHD. I'm angry. Those are all invitations, projections, things that are happening to us. So we look at our unconscious. And one of the ways that you can look at it is in therapy. Ideally psychoanalysis, but other types of therapy will do as well. Also, why it worked for me to do psychedelics is because when you do psychedelics, you're only looking at the unconscious. That 10% is not there. That's why they say there's an ego death. That's why they say that you forget who you are. Because the 10% is who you think you are, but then there's 90% of shit. So on a deep psychedelic journey, like a serious one, ayahuasca or something, you're looking at that, and all of that can surface. But the first step is to be aware, right? It's like what they say in Alcoholics Anonymous, like if you're aware, you can say, I am an alcoholic. Like when you're aware of what you are, you can heal it. So as we also say in psychology, you have to feel it to heal it. So either via a psychedelic journey or therapy or meditation or breath work or whatever other thing, or spiritual stuff or religion, whatever. Once you're like, okay, but you have to have an extreme level of self-awareness to know this, and it's gonna become really difficult. Why? Because your ego, your conscious mind and your ego will not allow you to look at that for survival purposes, because it's going to be too painful. Another personal example. I have trauma. A lot of us have trauma. But I never realized that I had trauma. I actually did a lot of therapy until I could realize that I had trauma. I only realized that because of the mushroom journey. But I thought the problem really was everyone else, and there was nothing wrong with me. And then in this psychedelic journey, some stuff came up and I'm like, what's that? And then the therapist was like, that's that. I'm like, oh, interesting. And since then, I've been healing that trauma. But my conscious mind, my ego fought with tooth and nail for me not to go there, right? It is the projection. It's like, no, you're good. But really, I wasn't good, because really none of us are good, all right? Like none of us are good. There's this stuff that you've been repressing. Everybody has shit going on, and you gotta deal with it. You gotta deal with it. You gotta go to therapy or do something to deal with your shit. And it's gonna be nasty. It's gonna be painful. It's gonna suck. But you gotta have courage. That's why the large mushroom journey is called hero's journey, because you have to have courage. You have to have courage to dive into the abyss of your unconscious, look at the roots and see what the fuck is there. And then you can do things. So I did it. I don't want to say like I'm healed, because no one is really healed, but I am good. Like I've changed from literally oil to water, and I don't even know what to say. Like it literally makes me want to cry, because it's just like, thank you, universe, for giving me this gift, which is to look at my unconscious, realize that I have serious abandonment issues, why I have the abandonment issues, who caused them, and heal that shit. Now I forgave everyone. I've cried. I was angry. I did what I needed to do. I talked about it for over 10,000 hours with my therapist, and now I am good. Now I can really show up in relationship. Now I can really love. Now I can be in community. Now I can be here making this video for you because I went through this journey. I went through this thing, which is to look at the unconscious. And the last thing I want to say about the unconscious and why you need to look at it, the main thing is if you don't look at it, that's cool. But I personally believe in reincarnation, and I believe that you're gonna be incarnating until you have courage to look at it and to like do this leap. But let's say you don't believe in reincarnation, it's fine. In this life, as you know, life is cyclical or cyclical, I don't know how to say it, but shit happens. So you're gonna see shit happening over and over, the same toxic relationships, the same get a job but don't get promoted, I'm stuck, I hate my career, the same depression cycles, the same anxiety cycles. The cycle is gonna keep cycling itself until you decide to do something about it. And when you wanna do something about it, it's because you wanna look at what's driving your actions, why you are doing things, and then when you have courage, you do that. Because Earth and the universe is perfect and everything is perfect and it's great as it is, we have this gift, which is diseases. And I know you're gonna say, well, diseases, they suck, that's horrible, like diseases. But what are diseases? Diseases, most of the time, they're psychosomatic. A lot of doctors, they already know this, you can look it up, that 90% of all diseases are psychosomatic. That doesn't mean some spiritual shit. What does it mean? Psychosomatic. So you have psychic energy, right? And you put it in your garage. You put it there, it's in your unconscious. You don't look at it, you avoid it, you dissociate. You're not looking at it. At some point, like a plant, if that root is rotten, it will show here. The symptom it will show, right? So somatic is in the body. Is the somatization of your psychological symptoms.